Here's your help video for quiz 3.12. Your need to know info. First of all circles are similar. Remember, similar means same shape, different size. Well, every single circle in the whole wide world is going to have the same shape. The only way to change the shape is to make it something else, like an ellipse. But if it's a circle, it has the same shape, it just might have a different size. So all circles are similar. You also need to remember what a translation is. Remember, a translation is a transformation where you move something right, left, up, or down. And then all of your mapping rules are here as well. If you add something to the x value, you're moving it on the x-axis to the right. If you subtract it, you're moving it on the x-axis to the left. If you add something to the y value, it's moving up. And if you subtract something from the y value, it is moving down. So you do need to remember those rules. And then also scale factor. Scale factor is how we dilate something to make it bigger or smaller. Remember, your formula to find the scale factor is an image length over a pre-image length. If the scale factor is greater than 1, it's an expansion. Between 0 and 1, it's a contraction. You actually don't need all this information for the quiz, but it's all really great information to review, so I'm just going to keep rolling. Negative scale factors do not determine if it gets bigger or smaller. They just change the orientation. And the mapping rule for a dilation is you're going to multiply your x and y by that scale factor. You're going to make it that many times bigger or smaller. Okay, so let's jump into our quiz. Circle 1 has a center at -4, 5 and a radius of 6. Circle 2 has 2, -3 as a center and a radius of 9. What transformations can be applied to circle 1 to prove that the circles are similar? Okay, so first let's figure out the translation. All right, if we start at -4, 5, and you don't need to graph this, but I'll just go ahead and show you one graph. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't graph because I don't have graph paper. Hey, check it out. I don't have graph paper here either. I'm just kind of sketching it. So if we start at -4, 5, and we end up at 2, -3, we need to figure out how far we are moving that center, how far we're translating it. All right, so you could count on the graph. You could say, okay, I'm moving it to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So I know that this is going right 6. And then you could count down. We're going down 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you wanted to sketch a graph and look at it that way, you certainly could. Or you could just look at your numbers. To go from -4 to +2, we would have to add 6 to get from -4 to +2. So that means that we are going to be adding 6 or moving to the right 6. To go from 5 to -3, we start at 5, and to get to -3, we would have to subtract 8. Because 5 minus 8 is -3. So that means that we have to subtract 8 or go down 8. So our transformation rule here, we would take the x value and we would add 6 to it. And we would take the y value and we would subtract 8 from it. So that's the first thing. We use that rule. And then we need to dilate it. And so we got to figure out the scale factor. And remember, for scale factor, it's image over pre-image. So let's start with, whatever we start with is our pre-image. So our pre-image radius is 6. I'm going to put that on the bottom for pre-image. Our image radius, what we end with, is 9. And so if we reduce that, and I think they're going to always want it reduced. So if we reduce 9 over 6, we could divide the top and bottom by 3. And our scale factor would be 3 over 2. All right, let's try the next one. Why is circle 1 similar to circle 2? All right, so circle 1 has a center at 0, 9 and a radius of 14. Circle 2 has a center at 0, 9 and a radius of 7. So we didn't move the center at all, so there's no translation happening. All that's happening is our radius is going from 14 to 7. So let's see. If we're going from 14 to 7, we have to ask ourselves, well, what are we multiplying by? And let's go ahead and look at our answer. Oh, this is tricky. Okay, the reason for that awkward pause after I said, oh, this is tricky, is because they're changing the order on you. So typically, we would say that the first one is the pre-image, the second one is the image, and we would do our scale factor, image over pre-image, and so typically we would say that this is, the scale factor is 1/2. We're making the half of its size. But in the answer choices, it says circle 1 is a dilation of circle 2. That means you start with circle 2 as your pre-image and you end up with circle 1 as your image. So if you start with circle 2, to get from 7 to 14, you are multiplying by 2. So that is going to be correct. Now, it says, why are they similar? They're not similar just because they have the same center. And then this one, a scale factor of 7, we're definitely not multiplying by 7. And circle 1 is a translation of circle 2. We're not adding or subtracting to move it at all. So it is A. That change in the order there was a little bit tricky, though. You had to kind of think about it. Okay, which transformation can be used to show that circle S is similar to circle T? All right, so we got S and T. First of all, the centers have moved. So let's do that first. The X value stayed the same, but the Y value went from -5 to 0. So they're taking the Y value and they're adding 5 to it. So that means we're moving it up 5. And then let's check out the radius. The radius went from 9 to 81. So we're making it 9 times bigger. So our scale factor is going to be 9. So let's look at our answers. Circle S is congruent to circle T. Well, that's not true because one's 9 times bigger than the other. Circle S is a dilation of circle T with a scale factor of 72. We're definitely not multiplying by 72. Circle S is a dilation of circle T with a scale factor of 9. We did determine that the scale factor was 9 because 9 times 9 is 81. And circle S is a translation of circle T 5 units down. Okay, so again, they're switching the order on us. This is tricky. So they're saying circle S is a translation of circle T. That means they're actually starting with circle T. So they're starting here and they're going to S. So instead of saying 5 up, we're subtracting 5 and we're saying 5 down. So the order is really important here. So they are not just doing it like the first one is the pre-image and the second is the image. You have to read the order very, very carefully on your questions. All right, according to these 3 facts, which statements are true? So circle M has center at 1, 10 and a radius of 12. Circle N is a translation of circle M 1 unit left. So if I'm moving it 1 unit left, my X value, if you look down here, is going to be subtracted by 1. So I know my new center is going to be at 0, 10 because I just took that X value and I subtracted 1 off of it. Then it says circle N is a dilation of circle M with a scale factor of 3. So if we make it 3 times bigger, if we started with a radius of 12 and we made it 3 times bigger, our new radius is going to be 36. I say with no confidence, yeah, it is. All right, so that's just our facts. Now let's look down here and see what's true. Circle M and circle N are similar. Y'all, that's a freebie. All circles are similar. Anytime you see that, you know it's true. The center of circle N is 0, 10. Yep, we already figured that out. Circle N and circle M have equal diameters. Well, that's not true. This diameter would be 24, and this diameter would be 72, so not true. And the radius of circle N is 12. No, the radius of circle M is 12, but N has to be 3 times bigger, so that's not true either. All right, the last one. suppose x is any positive number. Circle 1 has a center at -7, 4 and a radius of 8x. Circle 2 has the same center and a radius of 2x. Why is circle 1 similar to circle 2? Well, first of all circles are similar, so too bad that's not an answer option. But let's look at these. Circle 1 and 2 have the same diameter. Well, that's not true because we're taking our radius and we're like if we start here with this one, we take 2 times 4 to get up to 8. So we are making our radius 4 times bigger if we start with circle 2. So they're not going to have the same diameter. Circle 1 is a dilation of circle 2 with a scale factor of 4. I think that's a winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Circle 1 is congruent to circle 2. That's not true because one of them is 4 times bigger than the other. And then circle 1 is a dilation of circle 2 with a scale factor of 0.25. Now this is where it gets really tricky. You have to think about the order. Because remember, scale factor is image over pre-image. So if it says circle 1 is a dilation of circle 2, they're starting with circle 2 and they're ending with circle 1. So we need to go up here and let's just make sure we set up our scale factor correctly. Circle 1 is actually our image, and circle 2 is actually our pre-image. So we need to do image over pre-image, which reduces to 4. The x's cancel. So that order, the way they word it there makes the order pretty tricky. So don't get confused on that, because if you just do it the way I used to always do it, where the first one was the pre-image and the second was the image, you're going to get messed up. All right, y'all, good luck on this quiz.